So I'm going to take Paul in first.
Sure.
And let Orla in after to say a few words. And as we always do, you can ask questions at the end. Thank you.
Thanks a million, Hazel, and thanks a million, Orla, for joining us. Yeah, I mean, this is very, very simple. This is a time of year when a lot of parents will be currently taking unpaid parental leave. We're in school holidays. People are faced with a crisis of care. And in many circumstances, parents will choose one of them. Overwhelmingly, the woman will choose to take unpaid parental leave. Their bills don't go away for the time that they're off. They still have to pay their mortgage, they still have to pay the groceries. All their bills remain the same, and yet their income has been slashed because this is unpaid parental leave. So even for those who can afford to make the choice to do it, to take unpaid parental leave, it is a real struggle. For many other parents, it simply isn't an option to take unpaid parental leave. So very, very few lone parents are able to afford to have no income coming into the house over the summertime in order to be able to take care of kids. And the evidence suggests that very, very few fathers take unpaid parental leave. Some reports suggesting less than 5% of fathers take it, which would be linked to the gender pay gap, and therefore families weighing it up and saying, oh, well, if one of us has to take it, the one with lesser income, who will tend to be the woman, should take it, and so on. So the current situation of unpaid leave serves to reinforce the gender pay gap and to reinforce the gender care gap. And so to reinforce the idea that it's the role of women to take care of the kids and the role of men to go out and earn the income to pay for the family and so on. So our proposal is to bring Ireland some way in the direction of many, many European countries which have well-paid parental leave from 7 months to 12 months. We're just proposing to convert what is currently 6 months, 26 weeks of unpaid parental leave into paid parental leave. We think that this would have, a really positive, transformative effect for everybody involved. There's lots and lots of research to show that it would result in obviously a better work-life balance. It would result in better mental health, both for mothers and for fathers. It's good for children. It is good all round to give parents a break in this way and to give them the capacity to be able to take parental leave and be able to afford to take it because they're going to be paid while they're on it. Like I said, this isn't like wildly out of step with what happens elsewhere in Europe. In multiple European countries, you get even more well-paid parental leave. It's also about kind of recognizing the importance of care and the care work that is done by parents, and particularly over the summertime, not exclusively over the summertime, obviously. So we think it's an important thing to do. It's something that the National Women's Council has been raising, I think, for a number of years on budget submissions. So just to outline what will happen, I mean, we're announcing this bill today. We'll be lodging the bill with the Bills Office, and then we'll be introducing the bill when the Dáil is back in September.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks very much. It's a very comprehensive layout of it. Orla, do you want to come in and say a few words?
Thank you. Just to thank People for Profit for bringing forward this bill, because we think it's really critical for women's equality. It's important for families, for parents and for children. And it's something that the National Women's Council has been campaigning on for a long time, and we're once again calling for in this budget. And I think, there's a number of issues in terms of parental leave. And I think Paul is right to say it's transformative because it can have such a significant impact in terms of both women's equality, but also in terms of work-life balance, in terms of a greater distribution of care within families, and also to give real options and choices with regard to care. The history of parental leave in Ireland, in 1996, it came in because of an EU directive. And Ireland at the time went out of its way to negotiate in terms of countries being able to bring the directive in an unpaid capacity. So it's been unpaid in Ireland since it was initiated in 1996. And since then, the National Women's Council has campaigned for it to be paid because we know that it was never going to have the impact that it was originally meant for when it is in an unpaid capacity. And I think as well, it's important to say, there's nothing particularly radical in terms of looking for this to be paid. It's now paid in the vast majority of European countries. We're an outlier by having parental leave unpaid. And this has a particular impact on women and also on particular groups of women within our members. And this is why this is one of the issues raised continuously within our 190 member groups, is that by not having it paid, what it means is it's either, we know the take-up is low. Just to say that from the outset, the take-up is low. The data is patchy, but the CSO shows that those working in lower paid sectors with smaller employers, those in rural areas, are far less likely to avail of parental leave. We also know the severe impact it has on women, and particularly groups of women. Lone parents, for example, cannot afford to take this leave. So you're really restricting options in relation to spending time with children and care for particular groups. And for those who do take it up, it is about saving up for that time. And I think that just is not an affordable option right now, for so many reasons, cost of living pressures, but also to be on a wage that allows you to do that. And that's not the reality for the vast majority of women who are in low paid sectors. So it's not an option. This isn't an option for the vast majority of women and families. And that is why the take up is low. And I think it is important in terms of the discussion on this is to show how much of an outlier Ireland is. And it's not just in the EU, it's also in the OECD. So I think, going back to the crux of it, having paid parental leave will make an immediate difference to families. It will also start to reduce the gender pay gap, which the government say they're committed to doing. It will also start to reduce the gender pension gap, which is significantly high in Ireland, over 30%. So it'll make an important difference in terms of the equality issues that the government say they are committed to and have, issued a series of commitments, whether it's in the Women's and Girls Strategy and also in the Programme for Government. So there's a real opportunity in terms of supporting this bill and bringing this in the budget, which will put Ireland in line with what most European countries are and have families in Ireland to have the same expectations as other parents across the EU. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Orla. I appreciate that. So that's been a very comprehensive cover of what the proposal is today. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask.
Andrew Lyons from News Doctors Congress. I haven't met yourself before, Councillor Norton. Orla, can I ask you firstly about, you say that we're an outlier in terms of offering paid parental leave, or indicating the context that we don't actually offer paid parental leave. Why, in your experience and your many years campaigning for this, do you feel that there isn't an appetite for governments to change this, or at least bring it in a phased basis, whereby the state will cover a certain percentage of a salary, of a yearly salary or a weekly salary for parental leave? Why do you think there is no appetite for government to even change that or to bring it in on a phased basis? And Paul, if I could ask you something a little bit off this schedule, RTE and Cabinet signing off on the funding yesterday. It's one of the criticisms, and I understand I'm representing an organisation which has a skin in the game, not just News Talk, but the news that we, local and regional radio stations around the country that don't